Now, the second tale that we'll talk about today is the character Benedict Arnold, that great hero from Saratoga, who had also distinguished himself at several other battles. See, what happened with Benedict Arnold is very key to the whole story of the War of Independence. And it begins with his discontentment. See, Arnold, who was seen as a hero by many, was passed over for promotion several times. He never achieved the command that he thought he deserved, especially when he was dealing with inept commanders, men like Horatio Gates. He also often received little credit for the heroic things that he had done in the battle itself. And so he let that fester. He let that inside him actually eat him up. It ate him up so much that he continued to go downward. In the year 1780, something happened to him that caused him to see himself entirely as a victim. It was in that year, for example, that he was court-martialed on charges of bribery and extortion. He was accused of stealing money from the Continental Army and the Continental Congress. Now, the charges were false. They were brought against him because he had enemies in the Continental Army who wanted to get rid of him. The charges were eventually seen as false. He was completely acquitted, but it left him bitter. It left him angry. And like I said, he saw himself as a victim. When you or I see ourselves as victims, we tend to make poor choices. We tend to think that the world owes us something, and Arnold began to think that the world did indeed owe him something. He decided that the American army and the American cause of liberty was not going to pay. And so he sold himself to the British for £26,000, as well as a commission to become a brigadier general in their army. Now, this price didn't come easily. Not only was Arnold going to join the British, but he was going to surrender the fortress that he was in charge of, a place known famously as West Point, which is on the Hudson River. And West Point is kind of the key position on the Hudson River. If you control that outlet of land, then you really control the passage of the entire river, which controls the splitting of the entire colonies. And so this was a key moment. He was about to surrender it to them, about to actually have them march in, when his plan was found out and Arnold barely escaped with his life. He made it to the British, who did indeed make him a general, but because he had already betrayed his people, the British didn't trust him. They saw him as a traitor, and so therefore they put him in charge of attacking civilians, of attacking towns, which they knew would make him a stink completely in the eyes of all the American colonists and the patriots. As a result, he did indeed become a stink. He was despised. When the war ended and he failed to help Britain win it, he moved to London and lived out his days an unhappy, broken man. The one redeeming fact about Benedict Arnold is probably what happened at his death. Again, it's one of those stories in history where we're not entirely certain if it happened this way. But I'll tell you the story the way that I hope it happened, and that is this. They say that on his deathbed, he asked forgiveness for his sins of betrayal. They also say that upon his deathbed, he requested that he be buried not in the uniform of Britain, but in the uniform of the American Continental Army. He asked that because he said that was the uniform he wore when he had done honorable and sacred deeds. So Arnold, as great as a traitor as he was, also may have been an incredible character, especially with such a deathbed forgiveness as that.